Hello and welcome to Last Week in AWS. I'm Corey Quinn. Let's see what AWS has for us this time. Monitor AWS budgets directly in billing and cost management dashboards with new Budget Widget. Watching your budget explode in the same window as your Cost Explorer reports is progress because previously you had to click to a different page to confirm you'd blown past your spending limits weeks ago. Now it's all in one convenient location, like a financial crime scene, only with better lighting. Introducing the next generation of Amazon OpenSearch Serverless for building your agentic AI applications, because of course it is. Scale to Zero has finally arrived for OpenSearch Serverless, which raises the more than obvious question, what exactly was the previous serverless doing when idle? Well, charging you, mostly. The 60% savings claim is benchmarked against peak provision clusters, which is like saying my couch is cheaper than a Lamborghini, which is technically true, deeply unhelpful, but at least AWS has finally stopped shrieking that serverless has never meant scaling to zero until confronted with the Wayback Machine's copy of their own marketing pages saying that it was. Optimize costs in Amazon Aurora, a 3,000-word blog post on how to spend less money with Aurora, helpfully published by the company that profits when you spend more. The advice is fine. Right size, use serverless, buy reserved instances or database savings plans. Okay, great. But reading AWS lecture you about thrift is like getting nutrition tips from Cinnabon. How AWS DevOps Agent uses multi-agent reasoning to find root causes. Multiple AI agents arguing about why your Lambda is broken, which is exactly how my last on-call rotation went, except the agents bill by the token. Confirmation bias is a problem, sure, but I suspect agents hallucinating root causes with confidence is about to become a fun new incident category. Claude Opus 4.8 is now available on AWS. That's right, because 4.7 was apparently insufficient, and 5.0 would imply that we've reached some kind of a destination. The model can now hold a plan across stages, which is more than I can say for most AWS roadmaps. Your Bedrock bill is about to develop ambitions all its own. Best practices for TCP connection management on EC2, which was last summer's fun surprise. Your idle TCP timeout went from 5 days to 350 seconds on Nitro v6, and your database connection pool discovered this in production at 3 in the morning. The fix was keep-alives you should have had anyway, but nobody reads release notes until pagers start screaming. Why we made this change is a great blog post that's about 18 months too late. Introducing US-based, US citizen 24/7 technical support for AWS GovCloud US customers. Your mission never sleeps, neither do we. Now, I would have confidently stated that this was the case as recently as yesterday. I would have been wrong. Buried in paragraph 3. Previously, AWS GovCloud US technical support cases might be assigned to support engineers outside the US. Cool. So the compliance boundary that customers assumed existed for the past decade plus was actually more of a vibe. Glad we cleared that up with a celebratory blog post. Well-architected best practices for software supply chain security. Nothing brings out the security best practices documentation quite like a string of NPM supply chain attacks with names that sound like Dune fanfiction. The advice works. Stop hard-coding IAM keys in your CI/CD for God's sake. But it's telling that we needed Shai Hulud to remind everyone that long-lived credentials are a loaded gun. Automate Amazon EBS GP2 to GP3 migration at scale with AWS Step Functions and AWS Lambda. GP3 has been cheaper and faster than GP2 since 2020, and AWS is just now publishing the migration automation. 6 years of overpaying, but sure, let's celebrate the 20% savings you could have had during the last presidential administration. Bonus points for needing 10 Lambda functions to change a volume type. AWS Organizations emits CloudTrail events for account membership changes. It only took until 2026 to log when accounts join or leave your org. Previously, accounts could vanish from your organization, and the only evidence was a confused Slack message 3 weeks later. Security teams everywhere are torn between celebrating and asking what exactly we've been doing this whole time. CVE 2026-9255, tool execution without authorization via piped standard in Kiro CLI. That's right. It turns out piping untrusted content into your AI coding assistant lets attackers approve their own shell commands. Who could have possibly predicted that an interactive prompt accepting standard in as confirmation might end poorly? Patch to 1.28.0 or enjoy the novel experience of your CLI cheerfully running whatever it's told to. And finally, CVE 2026-9291, insecure deserialization in Amazon Bracket SDK job results processing. That's right. Quantum computing has finally achieved something previously thought to be impossible, a classical pickle deserialization vulnerability. The SDK trusts a JSON field to decide whether to call pickle.loads, which is approximately the security equivalent of asking the burglar whether they're a burglar or not. Upgrade to 1.117.0 and maybe reconsider who has S3 write access. And that's what happened last week in AWS. I'm Corey Quinn. Thank you for listening.